TV shows and in the movies. And indeed, what many of us who were alive back then did experience, especially in small and mid-sized towns. Even today in small towns, like Keene, New Hampshire, you can't get a cop to talk to you. Just talk to you out of the blue, say, about anything, whether, hey, officer, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Let's just, shoot the crap for a little while. You can't do that. Why? Because half of them think that you're too damn cool to talk to you, for one. That is a problem. And two, because the whole notion behind their leadership and how they police, they've gotten away from this whole notion of protecting and serving to policing. And when they're in policing mode, they're sitting in their cruisers, driving around town, and nobody can interact with them until it's something that has to do with legal and somebody's probably going to go to jail. Now, that's not the way a police department should be responding and reacting to the community that they're supposed to be protecting and serving. Now, I'm not saying that you have to, sit down and have an hour-long, if you're an officer, have an hour-long conversation with people on the town square, but you have to be open and be approachable. So that when you walk into a Waffle House or a Dunkin' Donuts or some other place, you're not going to get this notion that, we don't serve police or we don't serve people with guns here, sir. You're going to have to leave. Now, I really want people to think about that for a second. Now, the first thing that everybody wanted to do who's a law-abiding, constitutional-believing citizen is they're going to jump up and down and then start bashing on, the Waffle House employees and management and other businesses and things like that. And I have to admit, I did too. And then I stopped and thought, wait a minute, why is this continually happening? I mean, it's not an isolated incident anymore. What? Is it true about the Black Lives Matter thing and this cop block crap? That is, the cop block thing is crap, by the way. Let me point that out. Is that all? Are they right about that kind of stuff? Or is there something else that's possibly at play? And you start really paying attention and analyzing and looking at the evidence of what is happening. And you start to see a pattern. And the pattern is that police are not blameless in this. I'm sure I have cops that are probably listening to the program. They're going to vehemently disagree with me. But look, I'm going to tell you something. And if you're a good cop, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you know I'm right. When was the last time you just interacted with the public? Now, you might want to just, friendly interaction with the public. Now, I know it does happen. And every once in a while, you'll see it posted on Facebook. The cop is out there dancing or playing football with the local kids. Now, see, that used to be an everyday occurrence, not something that was so rare that somebody thought they needed to take a picture of it and post it on the internet. That used to be constant. That used to be a daily thing. That's what I'm talking about. We don't do that. Police departments don't do that on a daily basis constantly. Because let me tell you something. You get those cops out there that have these, and by the way, some of those cops, the rest of the story is on some of those. If some of those cops were either chastised or put on leave, suspended for doing what, being involved in the community like that. So that's why I say it is the leadership of these police departments that are mostly at fault. There might be we might have most of the cops out there might actually like to be more involved with the community on a happy note on a daily basis. Because let's face it, it's a hard job. You're dealing with on a daily basis the worst that our society has to offer. That's got to be a downer. But how about instead of constantly just sitting around driving around waiting for that domestic violence call or that robbery or that shooting or that murder or this or the assault or this or the robbery or this or that or this, how about, somebody is sitting there on a warm summer day out in the city, sitting on a park bench, and you're having a conversation, a normal, regular, non-fearful conversation with one of your local police officers. Now, how cool is that? Now, I have friends who are police officers, and I got to tell you, they are human. They like friendly interaction. It's why most cops have friends, because they're like the rest of us. They like to have human interaction. They like to have friendly interaction. And you should, I know one cop in particular. I did a ride along with him. And his whole, when he put on the uniform and sat in that cruiser, his whole demeanor was different. Now, I understand that the cop has to have a certain type of attitude when he's on duty. Yeah, that's perfectly clear. I got it. Not a problem. But his whole demeanor was different. I mean, he wasn't the same person. And he wasn't the same person because he didn't feel that he had the ability to be friendly. Because nobody was going to be friendly back with him. Every time he stepped out of that cruiser in order to talk to people, it was always for a legal purpose. And people's walls, they see the cop with the gun and the badge coming, and their walls go right up. There is no more friendly interaction. That takes a toll on our police officers. It really does. So what I am saying is that police chiefs and commissioners across this country, they have to revisit how they are leading their police departments. They have to train the police officers and encourage them to get back out into the community. And that is going to be a very long, very slow process because it's going to take a long time for the general public to once again trust the police. Now, Graham, I've seen the surveys, I've seen polls, I've seen all kinds. Let me tell you something. Many folks, more than half the population of this country, do not trust the government and they do not trust the police. That's a big problem. If you've got more than 50% of your community not trusting your police department, how much more difficult is it for your police officers to do their job? When it used to be just the opposite. It used to be like less than 10% didn't trust the police, and most of that 10%, they didn't trust the police because they were the criminals. And then every time something went down, all the community eyes, they would tell the police exactly what happened, where to go, where to find the perpetrator. You know, all that. There wasn't a need for all this kind of policing or investigating because they got all the information from the public because the public trusted the police department because the police and the public worked together because they constantly were in contact with each other. Today, we're not. We're separated. And it's not the street officers that have done the separating. Well, let me be very clear about that. It is not my friend who's a cop. It is not your next door neighbor who's a cop. They're not the ones who are doing the separating. The separation is coming from the top. And they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it on purpose. And it has gotten to the point where it is so bad that now we have this Black Lives Matter movement. And the rank and file police officers are being targeted for assassination. And we have to sit back and wonder, what the hell is wrong with people? Why our police are under attack and Obama's not saying everything? Let me tell you, it's done on purpose. And it's not just Obama. There has been a massive severing between community, the people of the community, and the police. And that did not happen with the people on the beat, on the street. It happened at the top. And it continues to happen because if you ever sit in a police briefing or you listen to a police chief or assistant chief or commissioner talking to his lieutenants and captains and telling his officers and detectives how to go about their daily policing routine, and if you go into police academies, you're going to see these cops being taught being told that everyone out there is a suspect. And I dare a current cop to tell me that I'm wrong on this one. They are trained to believe and think that every single person on the street is a suspect. Now that is separating you from those who are supposed to be protecting and serving you. And eventually it breaks down. And this is what this is what happens when the whole system begins to break down. The people on the street who are on the front lines thinking that they're doing their job are the ones now being targeted. And the rest of the community, by and large, is looking the other way. You know, we see some of these incidents on TV news. Like the cop filling up his car, being shot like 15 times in the head, and we all gasp and go, "But wait a minute! Why wasn't there any intervention? Why wasn't anybody attacking this criminal? Why was the criminal on the loose for so long before he was caught?" Because I'm telling you, because of the separation, people look the other way. And a lot of people, even though they know it was wrong, they quietly, a little part of them, applauded the bad guy. Because they're mad at the police. For one reason or another, they're mad at the police. And I'm telling you, that kind of thing really has to change. Because if we don't change it, it is going to get worse. And then you're going to start finding out, like in some communities we're finding out, the police are pulling back. They're pulling out. Because they know that if they go into a particular neighborhood, they're going to be the target. And then we have some community leaders that say, well, see, look, the police don't care. They're pulling out. Well, they're pulling out because you are also, community leaders, are fostering this notion of separation of the community, individuals, from the police. Because what are people usually taught now? Oh, don't trust the police, man. You can't trust the police. Don't rat anybody out. You can't talk to the man because he's gonna blame you. You can't talk to the police, man, because they're gonna nail you for something. You can't trust them. Can't talk to them. Nothing. Again, that's coming from the top down. You know, these people just don't all of a sudden think that on their own. They have to be told and taught this kind of thought process. And it's coming down that that's what they're doing. That's what's happening in our communities, folks. It's not good. You know, we want the police out there to protect and serve. The police, most of them, want to protect and serve. But we have this barrier between us. And that barrier is getting taller and wider. And I know that there are movies out there that we've seen, you know, like RoboCop and Judge Dredd, where all of a sudden the police are just these loners all by themselves, these untouchables out there, and everybody in the community is scared. If they even look like they're going to jaywalk and they see a cop, all of a sudden they're straightened up. And the general public is just absolutely terrified of the police. That's in these movies. Well, that's the direction we're headed right now. And that's not a good thing. That does not promote a safe and just and free society. What that does promote and lead to is a police state. Because now we start adding more and more laws to separate the police from the community. And when you have a police state, the only people who are really safe are the government officials and the police. And the rest of us, we no longer have freedom.